So today we will try to talk about muscular system. So let's see what we have on the muscular system or muscle contraction. We had done nervous system, we had done digestive, respiratory system. Now we will do muscular system, then we will do digestive system. So okay, I have opened my things. I'll share. Are you able to see this? Skeletal
Yes,
muscle.
sir.
Very good. So let us enlarge this picture. So muscles, they are attached to bone. This is the bone. Can you see the bone? This is
Yes,
the
sir.
bone. From the bone, there is a connective tissue known as tendon. And this is the epimysium from the tendon. And underneath it is the skeletal muscle. This is the muscle. मटन अभी रमजान में बहुत सारे मटन मिलेगा. So this is the mutton. I am waiting for Eid to come. बिरयानी आएगा. Okay. So this is the skeletal muscle which comes. You see, this is how the structure is. And now you see inside them, you have a covering. This is known as perimysium. These little bundles. So inside one perimysium, you will have even further smaller muscle fibers. And within that, you will have myofibrils. Are you able to see the structure clearly? Understand? What was that? বুঝতে পেরেছো এটা স্ট্রাকচারটা? Tendon से epimysium. From under the epimysium, the muscles start. And you have little bundles here. And this one bundle is one fascicle that has got a outer covering perimysium again. And then from there, you have muscle fibrils coming, myofibrils. Now we are increasing the structure of these things. You have, this is the muscle cells, the nucleus is over here. You have these skeletal muscle cells where there are striations. এই দাগ কাটা রয়েছে. So this is a muscle cell. Inside the muscle cell, you have muscle filament or muscle myofibril. The cytoplasm of muscle cell is known as sarcoplasm. And the membrane, instead of plasma melemma, it is known as sarcolemma. The cytoplasm is sarcoplasm. And you have these little filaments present. And these are the nucleus present over here. So you can see that inside one, we have several small little things coming out. And this is known as one fasciculus. Clear? Yes, no?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
no? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Shubham?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yes, sir. So we saw the microscopic anatomy. Let us see it in more details now. Myoblast cell. And inside you have fascicles. These are fascicles. The nucleus of the fascicle is over here. These are the muscle fibers which are coming out from here. And you have lots of these yellow structures are the mitochondria. And each of these little red, these are long tubes known as myofibrils. Now we are going into one myofibril. Myofibril has got, if you look at the structure, there are two types of proteins. One is the protein filaments, thick filament, and you have thin filament. You can see this under the microscope. So, and this is one unit from this zigzag structure to another zigzag structure. This is known as a sarcomere. This is the unit of muscle contraction. You have thick filaments alternating with thin filaments. Now what happens is that it is something like this. The thick filaments, they slide over the thin filaments. So this thick filament, it goes towards this region. And these two join together, then the muscle contracts. So the thick filaments and the thin filaments, they slide over each other. This is the basic of muscle contraction. And this end of one sarcomere is marked by a disc known as the Z disc. Is it clear? Na abar bolbo?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now let us look at how it looks. So this is the whole cell, muscle cell, the fascicle. So inside the fascicle, this is the sarcolemma. Inside one sarcolemma, covering sarcolemma, you have the sarcoplasmic reticulum, which is the counterpart of endoplasmic reticulum. The nucleus is present, and this is the filaments. So if I increase the size here, if you look this one Z disc to another Z disc, then another Z disc. So they are organized one after the other. And a sarcomere, the unit of a muscle which contracts, this is from one Z disc to the other Z disc. So now we will see further more details about the structure. You need to understand the structure. So if you see increase the size, this is one Z disc, a cylinder, another, this is the one sarcomere. And in between, there is a line known as M line. Remember, this is the M line. And the thick filaments are there and the thin filaments are there. We are looking at one sarcomere. A line can be seen in between, that is known as M line. When it contracts, this thin filament and this thin filament, they come and touch on the M line. Now, if you see the ultrastructure of one of this thing, this is the Z disc. It's basically a protein. This is a protein. So you have the thin filament, and in between you are seeing the thick filaments. The thick filaments have got little head-like structures. We will tell you what this thick filament is. And these thin filaments, it has got a coiled structure. Apart from that, there are several things which attach it. All these fibers are attached to the Z line. One is this is known as titin filament. So this region, the space between the two thin filaments, this is known as age zone. It's a light ashe. And in this region, which is the appears dark, this is the zone of overlap. Zone of overlap. And from this region to the end of this thick filament, that is known as A band. This is a deep band. And from this Z to, of course, it goes to the neighboring one. You have the I band. This is the I band over here. Clear about the, and then you have the M line over here. Clear about the structure? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So if you look at the structure under microscope, you have the dark A bands, the lighter I band. So this is the Z disc, muscular. So I band will also take a part of the neighboring sarcomere. So this light I band, A band, মাঝখানে তার মধ্যে একটু light zone, that is the age zone. So I have sent this. This is the components of the sarcomere, which I have explained. Now, let us talk about the thick and thin filament. That is most important for us. So you are seeing the thick filaments. দেখতে পাচ্ছ?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that is attached to, made up of proteins known as myosin. Myosin has got two heads, दो सर रहता है, and a tail. All these are arranged one after the other. एक bundle बना के it forms a myosin molecule, and a thick filament is formed. One thick filament of a myosin molecule. And now we are coming to the thin filament. It is the made up of actin, most probably, mostly actin. So this thin filament has got sites. This is the actin filaments. The actin filaments have got tropomyosin and troponin. Clear? হ্যালো,
Yes, sir.
হ্যাঁ এবারে শোনা যাচ্ছে। সাডেনলি দি ইন্টারনেট কানেকশন ওয়েন্ট অফ। এবারে শোনা যাচ্ছে। অ্যাট হোয়াট পয়েন্ট ডিড উই লুজ এই মলিকিউলটা, মায়োসিন থিক থিন ফিলামেন্ট? কোথায় কেটে গেছিল গো?
Sir, thin
Sir,
filament.
the actin formation এখন থেকে।
Yes, sir.
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, ওকে, I'll do this once more. So this is a thick filament. It is made up of a protein known as myosin. It has got a head and it has got a tail. And one thin filament has got this yellow actin fiber, and which is attached to other molecule. One is troponin, the other is tropomyosin. Clear structure? Hello? আবার গেল?
না
Yes,
স্যার
sir.
আছে।
এটা
মনে
বুঝতে
আসছে, চলে
পেরেছো?
গেছে। হ্যাঁ স্যার।
বুঝতে
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
ওকে ওকে। Now we are talking about the contraction and relaxation of skeletal muscle fibers. The theory which is prevalent mostly
স্যার আপনি কি সাইলেন্ট আছেন?
okay. Now you are able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
আচ্ছা,
ইয়েস স্যার।
আরেকবার আমি স্লাইডিং ফিলামেন্ট, আজ ইন্টারনেট বড় ডিস্টার্ব করছে। Okay. So the sliding filament mechanism. Can you listen? Here the sliding filament mechanism. আমার কথাটা শুনতে পাচ্ছো?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is two sarcomeres. One Z disc to one another Z disc is one sarcomere. This is the first sarcomere, the second sarcomere. Are you able to see the movement of this arrow?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this region is one sarcomere, this region is another sarcomere. And you have the thick filament and alternating thin filaments in between the M line. So this is the state in relaxed muscle. Now you come to a partially contract muscle. So these two hands. Are you seeing my hands? হাতটা দেখতে পাচ্ছ? Are you able to see my hands?
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So they come towards each other. They are moving towards each other. So you see that this distance, this region known as H zone, this H zone, this is becoming smaller because they are moving towards each other. So the thin filaments are sliding on top of the thick filaments, on top of the myosin heads. On the actin filament, you had seen there are myosin head binding sites. So the myosin head binds to the actin head myosin head binding sites, like in this picture. A myosin head binding sites. It is covered normally by this tropomyosin molecule. It covers it. This tropomyosin, a myosin head binding site টাকে cover করে. When contraction happens, these sites are exposed and myosin gets bound to it. And that is because of troponin, it moves tropomyosin. When calcium binds to troponin, it makes tropomyosin move away and release the head. And the myosin heads bind to the actin filament. এটা যে briefly বলে দিলাম. Now let us go into the details. So they are coming close to each other. And finally, they touch each other. This is the maximum contraction. So you can see that the muscle has contracted. এইটা করছো, এই মাসলটা কন্ট্রাক্ট করে যাচ্ছে. It has contracted. এইখানটা কন্ট্রাক্ট করছে, but this part has extended over here. এই জায়গাটায় আছে, this muscle has contracted over here. Clear? Sliding filament?
Yes, sir.
Okay. টুরুম করলো কেন? Okay, everybody is there. So why Turum? Okay. Now we go to the contraction cycle.
Sir.
Huh?
Sir, H zone fully disappear.
Fully disappear.
Okay.
When contracted.
Okay, sir.
In normal circumstances, the troponin, it covers the myosin head binding site on actin. Okay? But when calcium binds to troponin, sorry, let me tell it once again. The tropomyosin, it covers the myosin binding site on actin. So when calcium binds, when there is an electric impulse, the endoplasmic reticulum, it releases lots of calcium, and troponin is a calcium binding molecule. And this calcium troponin, it causes tropomyosin to move away from the myosin binding site on the actin, and it is exposed. And result is that the myosin head binds to it. So let us look at this contraction cycle. This is a thick filament. Myosin heads are coming up, and this is the thin filaments. This brown line is the tropomyosin, and this blue ones are the calcium troponin. This calcium troponin and this little purple molecules are calcium, and it binds to this blue calcium troponin. Result, this tropomyosin molecule, it exposes the myosin binding heads. So in the first step, the myosin head, what happens? This head, it hydrolyzes ATP, and ATP molecule binds over here. And with that energy from this hydrolysis, with the ATP becomes ADP plus phosphate. So myosin head hydrolyze ATP and become reoriented and energized. Normally এই বেঁকে থাকে, এরকম বেঁকে রয়েছে, they are curved. ATP is bound, it is hydrolyzed, and এরকম বেঁকে ছিল, এনার্জিতে it becomes straight. It moves by the energy of ATP, it becomes straight. Then the myosin head, it binds to the actin and it forms the cross bridges. দুটো আটকে গেল, thick and thin have got attached. This is troponin bound to calcium. This violet color ones are the calcium molecule. This blue is that. আরেকটু বড় করি. This violet color molecule calcium, and this is the troponin molecule. It has bound to tropomyosin and it has exposed the heads. And this on this exposed head, this myosin bound to ADP, it goes and binds. And this is known as cross bridge. Now, myosin cross bridges rotate towards the center of the sarcomere. এরকম করে রয়েছে, তো আগে এরকম ছিল, এটা এরকম এনার্জিতে হলো, আবার চা করে এদিকে টেনে দিল, it moves it towards the left. So the cross bridges rotate towards the center of the sarcomere, and that is known as power bridge. So এটা এইভাবে ছিল, it moves towards the left here. Result, what happens? The thick filaments and thin filaments, they slide over each other because this is powering it over to the center. Clear? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Connection ta jayeni. Okay, great. So this is what happens. And next, slide ho gaya, energy khatam ho gaya. Now ATP comes and binds. Because of when the ATP comes and binds, again এটা বেঁকে যাচ্ছে, and it is released, and then the relaxation starts. ছেড়ে দিল, রিল্যাক্স করে গেল, আবার ধরলো, ধরে স্লাইড করলো, পাওয়ার স্ট্রোক, that is contraction. So are we clear about this contraction, relaxation, contraction cycle? Yes, no? Okay. Yes না no? আরেকবার বলো কেউ.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So this ends this part. Now let us go what happens actually. So a nerve gives a stimulus and an action potential. So normally what happens? This is the sarcoplasmic reticulum, or it has got lots of calcium. Here you have the transverse tubules. These are the myofibrils, the thick filaments, and you have the thin filaments. Normally what happens? The myosin binding sites on actin, they are closed, and all calcium is in the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Muscle is relaxed now. Now this has got a rich store of calcium ions. Then muscle action potential comes. The nerve মানে ওই যেরকম করে nerve action potential muscle এর উপরে polarization depolarization occurs, and this causes these calcium channels in the sarcoplasmic reticulum. They release this calcium. This calcium goes and binds to this troponin molecule. After it binds to troponin molecule, it changes the shape of the tropomyosin complex, and these myosin binding sites are uncovered. When it is uncovered, it binds again. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So calcium release is the key. Calcium goes and binds to troponin, forms calcium troponin, and this calcium troponin goes and binds to tropomyosin. Tropomyosin normally is a chippy of the myosin binding head on actin, and that is released. And when that is released, the myosin can bind. So it is this electric stimulus which causes the muscle to contract, and because calcium is released. So this is actually today's class, muscle contraction. Do you have any questions?
স্যার কেমন কোশ্চেন আসতে পারে এখান থেকে?
Muscle contraction, contraction relaxation cycle, what is sarcomere, what is A band, what is H band, all short questions.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Ornali, question? Shreyash পালিয়ে গেছে.
No, sir.
No questions. Okay then. Ajke bye bye, again on Thursday, okay?
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.